Hello, my name is Super Meme Maker 5. You're probably wondering why this video is titled, Mario and Meggy as Siblings, since a lot of the SMG4 community seem to like them a sibling relationship. Well, let me play a few clips from recent videos to give you an idea.
Then he got an idea. An awful idea.
Can I help you?
You got Mario confused.
Quit it! Quit it! Just try to point another finger at me!
The Fitness Gram Pacer.
Ball! Oh, no, you don't. We're saving him.
Oh, Mamma Mia!
Yeah, I'm also sorry that Mario's been acting like an idiot. What? He started it! He started it!
Gale West!
In case it's not obvious yet, my main problem is the fighting and them not getting along. A lot of people don't mind that, either because they find it entertaining or, honestly, they just hate a certain shit, but I for one am not amused. Some of you will probably just dismiss me as a salty MXM shipper, or some fanatic of older SMG4 videos who wants everything to stay the same, and you're perfectly welcome to think that of me. But I will tell you this right now, I'm not. I'm a fan first, viewer second, shipper third. At the end of the day, I will be satisfied with simply enjoying the videos, rather MXM becomes canon or not. But good writing comes first no matter what, and I just don't think Mario and Meggy work as siblings, and I will explain why. This one is probably a common reason people may have for not liking Mario and Meggy as a sibling relationship. They think it's just out of character, and this is a reason I agree with wholeheartedly. When they were first introduced as a duo, Meggy was a competent athlete with a dream and Mario was an idiot plumber. But after a day with each other, something changed, particularly with Mario. He's always been a jerk at times, which is part of what makes him funny, but over the course of the SMG4 series he's gotten noticeably more caring, empathetic, and compassionate, to the point where he flipped out when his friends were gone for 2 weeks. It was because of meeting Meggy that Mario changed from a mostly heartless jerk to a, while still jerky, loyal and compassionate friend who you can genuinely count on when the time calls for it. And we all know how Meggy's character development went and worked, and the role Mario played in it. Rather you ship them or not, it's undeniable that they have a close bond, and that they changed each other's lives for the better. You might say that this makes the sibling relationship reasonable, that they're close enough to where they have a brotherhood. However, in my opinion, their dynamic before 2021 has never been like that. Yes, they would sometimes disagree and fight like in the Mario convention, but that wasn't out of pettiness or because they were angry at each other, it was because they wanted to show Luigi and Tari respectively Mr. What's His Name. For the most part they got along famously, and were especially kind towards each other like during the 2017 Christmas special and whenever they'd practice. They would fight and get angry at each other on occasion, but not any more than regular friends would, and usually never getting physical. That is, until 2021, particularly in the bunker video where one of the subplots of that episode was Mario and Meggy getting into a squabble. Keep in mind that Meggy, during this point of time, had just gotten out of vacation and previously had a crisis about worrying how she treats her friends, even being mentioned in the last episode of Sunset Paradise by Shadow Meggy.
People give everything for you, and what do you ever do in return? Nag and complain and boss them around! You're useless.
I understand that the point might be that Meggy should stop feeling this way about herself, which is a good point to make, but that only applies if what Shadow Meggy's saying isn't true. So to me, it makes no sense that pretty much just after she got out of vacation, that she'd start acting this way towards who is probably her closest friend. Mario, more than any other SMG4 character I know, has been there for her, has helped her, and has had her back. It's important not to feel awful about yourself when you shouldn't. But it's also important not to be careless or hurtful towards people you care about, especially those whom you share a deep bond with like Mario does with Meggy. So for me, not only does Mario and Meggy fighting like siblings cause me to be annoyed, but it hurts their character developments and regresses them. I don't see how we go from Meggy initially worrying about how she treats her friends and Mario being especially nice to her carelessly treating her closest like crap and Mario purposely egging her on. I also just blame the attempted sibling relationship for the characterizations Mario and Meggy had in 2021 through most of 2022. Most of the SMG4 community hate Mario being a man-child and Meggy being overly hot-headed and a star-child, as I've been hearing. Allow me to venture, Mario and Meggy's relationship, and SMG4 is trying to make it, is akin to a little brother and an older sister. To justify Mario coming off as a little brother, he just act more rude and jerky, that way Meggy, the older sister, can get angered easier and step in and try to teach Mario right from wrong, inevitably fail because it's a comedy, and thus get into a fight, like siblings.
How's that? Am I in the ballpark?
I think I've said enough to make this point clear. Mario and Meggy having a sibling relationship makes for bad characterizations, ignores both of their character developments, and is just annoying in my opinion. This could just be me, but like I said earlier, I never saw them as siblings until the bunker video in 2021. And now looking back, the only times before then I catch a hint of that are in the penguin video and the food fight. But that's aside the point. When we saw the bunker video, Mario was stealing a candy bar from Boobkins and Meggy stepped in and told him not to steal. Then Meggy herself ends up wanting to eat the candy bar and they get into a fight, well, a physical one.
No! How about no? I beg your pardon? Ooh!
If it were Tari or Psycho doing this, I would have understood, since both have been known to scald Mario in the past, namely when Tari had a problem with how Mario treated Jub Jub in the egg video. But I don't see how it makes sense for Meggy to do it here. It made sense for Tari because she's pure-hearted and Psycho because she and Mario have always had a rough history that never really saw them getting along that much even after becoming friends. So to me, Meggy doing that here just feels out of place, since Mario stealing the candy bar didn't offend her directly, in which case I'd imagine Meggy would get mad at Mario, and I've tried to accept it, but a lot of stuff involving them not getting along since then feels incorrect to me. Moments where Mario would intentionally make Meggy upset, where Meggy would get mad at Mario for something he didn't mean to do, and where it's just glorified to the point where I find it kind of annoying. To me, the beginning of this was bad, and majoritively the execution since then was just as bad or worse, normally ranging from frustrating to mildly annoying. I understand we can't have two characters being overly nice to each other all the time, but Mario and Meggy feel really extra when they fight. I think the only time where I've seen them as a sibling relationship and actually liked it in post-2021 videos was in Mario Goes on a Diet. There were moments where they disagreed, but it didn't feel like SMG4 just cramming in whatever moment he could come up with where they get mad at each other and it's like, hey, look at this. It felt like Meggy was actually trying to look after Mario and Mario was being difficult, but in a way that's in character for both characters. If they were always like this, that would be fair enough. But the road trip video reminded me why I don't think this works, and I remembered last time I didn't speak out against something I thought didn't work, but I think you understand my second point now. So let's move on to my final reason, and honestly the one that stands out to me the most. Ready? And for my third, and final, point for today, is the one I don't think anyone else has brought up when discussing this topic. Unlike much of the SMG4 community, I for one am very open to change, but I am only accepting of change when that change can prove somewhat beneficial. Because at the end of the day, the benefits of change are what separate it from a cheap afterthought that served as a downgrade from the original. For the most part, in my opinion, SMG4 has made good changes, or at the very least changes that have or still hold potentially good results. Meggy's redesign for further character development, the castle removal for the potential of a fresh start at a new location, and the general direction SMG4 as a whole has taken. Which is why it confuses me as to why the change they made to Mario and Meggy's friendship was to go from a dynamic duo between two close friends, potentially even best friends, to a sibling relationship where the majority of what they do when on screen together is bicker and fight, save for the occasion where it's honestly a big deal and they sympathize for each other. And even then, why does them not fighting have to be big enough to mark when something's a big deal to begin with anyways? If I'm being completely frank, the only difference I see between them as buddies and them as siblings is the fact that, as sibling, they fight a lot, which is honestly my least favorite thing about SMG4 as of current. I can deal with the arcs feeling rushed and ending with Watfi for the millionth time, since at least with those I feel genuine enjoyment when I'm watching it. There's nothing enjoyable about Mario and Meggy fighting frequently in my viewpoint. I understand if SMG4 just doesn't want to ignite the flame of the ship war, and feels need to make their dynamic feel as neutral to that as possible, but to me it's pretty clear that the sibling relationship idea just doesn't work, simply because anything good about it was already done well when they were a dynamic duo and not when they were fighting a lot. If you're going to make a change, it has to have to show a benefit for it to work well. To me, if there is a benefit to changing them into a sibling relationship, save for preventing fan wars, which honestly shouldn't be too relevant from a viewer's point of view anyways, then I don't see it. To me, it feels like SMG4 saw the hate MXM was causing in 2019, toned down their friendship from 2019 to 2020, and threw in fighting into the dynamic for appeal of those who were hating on the ship to begin with. I won't act like I know what's going on behind the scenes, but if that is why they fight a lot now, then I don't believe that's the best way to handle a character dynamic in a show. There will always be people who love MXM, and there will always be people who hate it, but I believe majoritively the viewers will just be there to enjoy the show. It's always better to do what works for a show and makes both characters likable, than to allow toxicity within a vocal minority of a fanbase to dictate how respectfully characters are treated. This will probably make me one of the most controversial figures in SMG4 fandom, but this is something I've been meaning to talk about for a while now. Mario and Meggy are two of my favorite characters in SMG4, always have been, and always will be, and their friendship has always been one of the things that's stood out in SMG4 since day one. And while I can accept that SMG4 has no plans on making Mario and Meggy an item, which is honestly reasonable considering how controversial the ship is, that doesn't mean I approve of the direction they've taken Mario and Meggy as a duo. When SMG4 decides to take a route with these characters that regresses them, makes for bad characterizations, and just feels forced and annoying to me, that's where I feel I have to say something.
And this was the last straw.
With all of that being said, that is all just my opinion. I do hope those of you who disagree will make an effort to be respectful towards me in the comments below. I do hope SMG4 takes side of this and takes some of my criticisms as reasonable, even with the current state of SMG4's critical part of fandom where it's mostly emotional-based criticisms and less constructive critiques. I do believe these are worth keeping in mind. Thank you all for watching. This has been Super Meme Maker 5 and his critique on Mario and Meggy as a sibling relationship, and by that I mean why I think they should drop it. Feel free to comment your opinion below, as well as to like and subscribe, and let me know if I should give my thoughts and critiques on other topics in SMG4. That's all from me, I'm out.